Hey everyone. On today's show, I have a very dear friend. Her name is Jannet Carrera, and she's a professional dancer. She is going to share with us her journey from becoming a success in Hollywood to receiving some devastating news that changed her life. Hi, welcome to Health Journeys, a podcast about real human experiences in health and medicine. I am your host and healthcare advocate, Maritza Hasty. Health Journeys is all about discussing the diagnosis and treatments of diseases and exploring personal stories in pursuit of overall health and well-being from different points of view. Support for this podcast comes from Hasty Storytelling. Hasty Storytelling is a creative agency that specializes in production, brand strategy, and live streaming solutions. For more information, visit us at hastystorytelling.com. Hey everyone, welcome to Health Journeys. We all have hopes and dreams, and we know how much work it takes to achieve a goal. In the entertainment industry, that is even more difficult. Today, we have a guest, Jannet Carrera. She's a professional dancer and choreographer, and she's going to take us through her journey of what it was like to reach the success of the entertainment field and then have everything come to a halt due to a serious medical condition. Hi, Jannet. Welcome today.
Hi, Maritza. Thank you for that lovely introduction. I'm so excited and happy to be here.
Well, we're so excited to have you here, and you've always been such a beam of light, and I just want everybody, all my listeners, to get to know you and what a gift you've been in my life and what a gift you are to everyone that you touch. So we want them to get to know you a little bit. So tell us, how did you start dancing? Take us back to when all of this started and you began your dance career.
Oh man, I love this question, and you think you're telling the same story as you go through your journey, but then it keeps changing because you keep growing. But to start it off and just to go back, I've always taught dance with my family, right? We performed shows, we would choreograph routines and just get all dressed up. I'm Latina, so Selena Quintanilla was a big influence in my life, Paulina Rubio, and just performing in front of the family was just always something I loved to do. And that's exactly how it started. It was just something I was passionate about since I was a little girl, and I just loved doing it. And with time, I never thought that it would actually be my profession, my career, my livelihood.
So how old were you when you started dancing?
I was 7 when I really just took on, this dance, world. And I really was a tomboy growing up, so I wanted to do sports. I wanted to do soccer. And my dad just was like, well, what about cheerleading? And I said, okay, let's do cheerleading. And I tried out for cheerleading for the city. And since then, I just it was an on and off, to be honest, on and off in the beginning. I just knew I loved it. But, with school and everything, after school activities, I was just kind of doing it all. So little girl, 7 years old, and, I ended up being on the high school dance team, and that's where it really flourished for me.
So was that when you finally decided that's when it was going to be something you wanted to pursue as a career?
Yes. So that's when I started to really dive into this creative side of me. I wanted to dance. I wanted to sing. I wanted to perform. I wanted to be an actress. But again, those were labeled as dreams, right? I had to go to school. I had to go to college, get a job, which was very expected of me. And mind you, I have 2 amazing, beautiful parents and such a supportive family. So there was obviously a lot of pressure of doing what's expected of me and then following this dream, this passion. So I ended up doing both. I ended up doing both in the process.
You're preaching to the choir. I think most of us Latinas, we want to fill in all the buckets, right? So we want to make sure we're doing everything for everyone. I think that's part of the culture. So tell us a little bit more about your training. What kind of training did you have when you started your dance career?
I love that. The training was at a level that I've never experienced at school. Not that school wasn't competitive, but being in that industry, I got to really experience a little bit of everything. I really needed that dedication, that drive, that desire on how bad I actually really wanted to pursue uh, this industry. And mind you, again, in the beginning, I wanted to do it all. I wanted to do dance, singing, acting, modeling, and I did. And with time, I found that the true passion that just spoke to me was dance. So the level of training was out of my own reach. My expectations had to be really, really powerful and dynamic for me to understand, okay, what is needed of me to produce the best training? Because at that time I had, a part-time job, I was going to college full-time, and I was pursuing this dream. So I had to literally set a schedule for myself to say to myself, okay, what hour to what hour am I going to train? And because I wasn't doing just dance, I was going to school, I had to work even harder. Those stories you hear in sports where like the first one in, last one out? It's so true, because I really did go through that, and I had to be the first one in and the last one out. And if that meant getting 3 hours of sleep before an exam, I was willing to do that, but again, that drive and that determination and dedication, I believe, was really my actual training. And training, with the best choreographers. And I mean, you name it. I fell for all the scams out in LA. I mean, I invested so much money in myself, this trial and error, but I definitely believe because of all that, it really has shaped me in who I am today as a dancer.
So let's go back to your parents and to the culture and to all of that and to you trying to satisfy everybody. What was the conversation like when you broke it to your parents and said, I'm going to move to LA and I'm going to pursue a dance career? What did that look like and what was their response?
Oh man, that takes me way back, Maritza. You mentioned earlier, being a Latina and just any culture. I think anybody I feel can relate to this. Where so much is expected of us, right? And especially as a woman, I feel we're looked at to nurture, right? So I had this battle of, oh my God, am I going to disappoint my parents? Right? They're immigrants. They came out here to give me the best life. And that best life was going to school, getting a college degree, and having this dream job, right? That provides that steady income and benefits and 401k. So when I came with the news to my dad, especially, and my mom, like, hey, I like this. Like, I really love it. Like, Dad, what do you think of it? Like, well, what is that? Is that going to pay your bills? Is your dream, you get into this conversation. And I'm just like, okay. So I kind of just held back and I said, okay, Dad, what if I do both? And he said, yeah, do both. That's cool. But as long as you get your degree and you graduate. So that was how it went. I had to continue my academics, right? Get a degree. And also, like I said, train out of control in my craft, in this passion that I knew I loved to do. My parents were super supportive. Again, I grew up with a family that's super united, and love was just all I saw growing up. So I felt very fortunate and lucky. But mind you, my dad was always like, I want the best for you. So the pressure, right? The pressure was
Yeah.
always there. And I continue with my education. I even, made it to the master's program for psychology. And that was the moment that I completely broke the news to my dad. Like, hey, I already graduated college, but I'm not going to finish my master program.
Oh
I'm going to
boy.
drop out and I'm going to pursue dance. And I felt because I already had my bachelor's degree, he was a little bit more lenient. But I mean, I was going to LA and auditioning 6 to 7 times a day. And, I would come home and he would be like, so what they tell you? And I said, they all said no. And my dad really built this like tough skin on me and said, see, I told you,
Oh
you're not
boy.
gonna get it. You're not gonna get it. Yeah. So every time I went to audition in LA, I was just so ready for it because the person that I wanted to, gain that acknowledgement from in my passion was my parents. And to hear my parents in a way say, well, I told you, it ain't gonna happen. It just really shaped me into every single no I got in LA. It was like nothing to me. It was just like, okay, that just means I gotta work harder. I gotta work harder. So it pushed me even harder. And then, again, that day comes, right, where I come home and I'm like, Dad, guess what? He goes, what? I got the part. I got the part. He's like, really? And that moment I thought I made it. I thought like, yes, this is it. This is my theme for life. And but it did. It really pushed my confidence way up higher for dance. I was on national television. I was able to dance, with George Lopez and his dancers, and the dream of
Yeah.
walking in, with your bag, and you go to your trailer and they're doing your makeup and hair and getting ready to go on set. I mean, Maritza, I thought I made it. that moment was that moment was so surreal for me. And back then, we didn't have social media like now, right? Like, I think
Right.
MySpace was like the hottest thing, or Twitter. I think I tweeted, so those experiences were really felt within. Like, it was just your moment. You weren't really able to share it with the world. It was just sharing it with your family and loved ones, and just really embrace that moment. So yeah, so breaking the news to my parents, was definitely a tough one for me. Uh, because I felt this need of approval from my parents that the choice that I was making was the right one. And now that I'm older, I just know that they just want the best for me, and they always did. And they've always been my biggest hype man, my biggest hype girl, which are my parents. And I'm just so thankful for that. That I had the courage to break the news, that I felt, that I had this voice that needed to be heard. And I remember telling my dad, like, well, Dad, you raised me. This is the way you raised me. It was really tough to tell you this, but you raised me to always have a voice of my own, so it kind of just went back. He's like, oh my God, I did raise you, So, it's definitely a tough one, but definitely the courage and willpower to come out, to your parents about anything. It's not even just career. It can be about anything. It's just so important. And at the end of the day, I really feel our parents are just there for us for anything and whatever it is.
Absolutely. So you were driving from Moreno Valley, right? You were driving from Moreno Valley to Los Angeles for auditions?
So yeah, I did that for 3 years nonstop. And yes, the drive was forever long. You're talking about traffic. There was times I
Yeah.
would go from audition to audition. So I would change in the car, do my makeup. Oh my goodness. It was the time of my life. And just doing this alone, it was
Wow.
really a good time for me find myself and like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, right? Like it helped me discover my real passion. And I was just so passionate about dance, and I felt like nothing can stop me. I was invincible, right? Like I was young, I was invincible, and I carried all that drive with me during the drive.
So, okay, so let's tap into a little bit about that passion and what do you feel when you dance?
Oh, that that's serious. I wish we were like in person so you can see the
I have
chills that
goosebumps too.
question brings.
I have goosebumps too.
Okay, that question brings me. Man, instant happiness, instant freedom of expression, this instant joy that I feel about dance is bigger than me. And mind you, I started doing dance for myself. That's how it started. And then with time, this feeling that just came to me, and I know, like, literally, like I like go into like this focus, like I literally take myself back and I become what my soul wants me to become.
Well, I want to share a little bit about what that's like personally from my experience in your classes. But before I do that, I kind of wanted to go back a little bit more and go back to the time when you were in the industry and you made it big and you came home and you told your parents. What was it like being in that competitive environment? What was it like with the peers that you were competing against that, you're going for the same roles? I mean, what did that feel like? And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's a beautiful question. Just, and I believe it doesn't just relate to dance, right? It can relate in any field, in any of the people listening. It relates to everything. Competitive, right? That's just the key word there. And being young and not knowing what I know now as who I am as a person, it was I was very self-critical of myself. Was I good enough? Was I not? Did I have to train harder? Um, all these thoughts, all these fear, right? Fear woke up, insecurities woke up. Um, you name it. All those things in life that stops you from pursuing anything in life came to me. It just completely, slapped me in the face, kicked me while I was down, and you really just start to see the beauty in people, the people that need healing. You really start to see that test of life, right? Those hills, those bumps, those roads. It was at a time for me, I almost wanted to just throw in the towel and give up, right? After so many no's and there's so many few yes. I wish people would talk more about that, right? That's the winning sensation, like, oh, I made it, is literally one percentage. Okay, it lasts 1% of that 99%. That winning, that, oh, I made it, or that big victory, it's only 1% of that 99%. Right, that journey,
Yeah.
that journey outward, right? Outward with me, dedication, discipline. I knew I had it. But back then, my journey inward, oh, I needed the work, right? I needed to be okay to be vulnerable, to be okay to ask for help, to be okay to just feel the emotions, right? And that's something obviously that I've learned now, right? That it's more about not just the journey outward and what you are producing, right? It's about both. It's balancing the journey outward and the journey inward. Um, so if anything, the competitiveness showed me who I was, who I needed to become, and who I needed to accept that I was.
What I wanted to asked you, which is kind of all in the same vein, is, it's competitive with females, especially. There's, the body type issue. Do I look the right way? Do I, but you had a very strong mental centering that got you to that point. Can you tell us about times where you maybe looked at the competition a little bit and thought, I don't look that way, or I don't, what that felt like?
Oh yeah, all the time. All the time, Marissa. Let's be real here. All the time, you're standing in line. It's overwhelming. Are you kidding me? You're auditioning. I'm on this hip hop instructor, and then next to me is a ballet dancer, and her legs are like all the way up to here, so beautiful, and I'm just like, damn, I wish I could do that, but and at the time, even now, I still take ballet for personal reasons, just to improve in every area of my life as a dancer. But oh yeah, it was every day. Every day I would walk into an audition. I was consistently criticizing myself and competing, with myself. Like, damn, I wish I had those hips, or I wish I was a little bit taller. I would have got that audition, And back then they were just you have to be 5'2", you have to be 5'3", or you have to be 13 years old or look like you're 13 years old. The auditions are insane. But again, with time, I think if it wasn't for that journey that I chose to go through, I wouldn't be the woman I am today. Definitely not, especially coming from a lovable, supportive family. It was very foreign to me to see people be so mean, to see people, just the ugly side of the industry. That was foreign to me. I would come home, to my mom and say, hey mom, like, why are people like this? Or why do they treat each other like this? Or, somebody told me this today. And my mom just always said, you know what, mija, some people have just never experienced, love, and that's foreign to them. Just like envy and hate is foreign to you, love is foreign to them. They just need a little healing, or they need somebody to remind them, like, hey, like, you're definitely not alone. Sometimes all that competitiveness, or at least when competitive brings out, not a competitive, healthy side of you, but more of a, aggressive and just very toxic side, those people, my mom would just say, those people just need a little bit of love, mija. And, and I always took that. In auditions. As time went on, I started realizing, within myself, like, no, I'm good. I am me, and if I get the part, it's because this is who I am. So yeah,
well,
definitely.
That's a testament to you. Definitely a testament to you. So we're going to switch. We're going to switch a little bit, and now we're going to talk about what's going on in your life. So, you've gone through all of this, you've trained, you're driving to LA, you're working, you're going to school, you made this decision to pursue dance professionally. They kept telling you no. You finally made it. And now you've shared with us in class all the various projects and, big time names that you've worked with, a lot of hip hop artists, so you're in that groove, let's say now, right? And then you get faced with a diagnosis of a brain tumor. Tell us, what was that like? At what point did you feel that something was off, and what was that like?
Man, it really just makes my heart so big on that. That moment that I felt something was off, I was just getting these headaches. I pay no mind, right? Everybody gets headaches. And mind you, my career was booming, right? I got the dance choreographer job. I started working on projects with music artists in LA, and I was hired for creative directing. I was a published dancer now, right? I was getting interviewed left and right on podcasts. I was being invited to speak. I mean, my career was booming, was at its ultimate high. And then, things, but before all that, I was, during that trial, I came home and I told my mom and my dad, I said, hey, something's not right. I knew I was getting headaches, but I felt different because I couldn't breathe normally. I felt shaky. I wasn't myself. I wasn't this like on the go Janet thriving, right? There was something off about me. And then I fainted. I fainted in front of my parents, and that's how it started. They rushed me to the ER. They took a few tests, and my mom's like, are you pregnant? I'm like, Mom, no. Like
typical Hispanic response.
Right? Right. Let's just keep it
I'm
real.
sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it's so true.
No, but it's so funny, right? Like I had to say that because every time I tell this story, it's just like, it brings like that rawness into it. And I was like, no, Mom, not pregnant. My dad's just quiet. My dad's just like,
oh yeah, stoic.
And
yes.
Then the news comes, that they found something in my brain, and they just want to take precautions, etc. So we do more tests, and I continue about my day, and I go to the doctor's appointment, and again, I'm over here like, Dad, I'm good, like I'm fine. The doctors really didn't have an actual diagnostic, so it helped my parents just be like, okay, maybe she was just overexhausted, right? Because I'm up and down all the time and I work so much. So I went to the doctors by myself, no mind of expecting anything, honestly. And then I get the news that I had a brain tumor and I was suffering seizures at the time. And Maritza, have you ever seen a movie and in those movies, like, the doctor is telling the patient or the person like life-changing news, and literally everything like becomes a blur, right? Like the movie just focuses on that person, and that person is literally like tunnel vision, doesn't even know what the doctor is saying no more. That's exactly what happened to me. He just said brain tumor, and then he was pointing like the location of it, and I just went into like this, like I was in a cloud, and I was just standing there. And then I was like, okay, so what's next? He's like, well, we have to do more tests, more blood work. And I said, okay. I go home, Maritza, and mind you, I go in complete denial. Complete denial.
I was just going to ask.
I didn't tell my parents.
Oh,
I was in complete denial. That was the first thing that I was like, okay, yeah, right. Okay, I was in complete denial. I got home, put I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to think. I was, I guess, confused, right? Shocked of the unknown.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This unknown that was presented to me, that I have never experienced in my life. And yeah, I just went into complete denial, didn't tell my parents. For like a month, I kept going to the doctor appointments by myself. I didn't tell anybody. And then the second month comes through, and they send a letter home, and my mom opened it, and sure enough, the diagnostics on there, and my seizures got worse in the beginning, and I know my parents felt hopeless, but I felt so helpless too, seeing them see me, especially when you go through seizures. I mean, man, I went from denial, then I got like angry, right? Like I was like not angry at anyone. I was angry at this thing that completely has changed my life. I think I call it rogue because I disappeared, in a sense where I told my friends I left to Georgia with my family.
Oh, wow.
When I was like clearly in California, you know, it was like in hideout.
Wow.
In that moment, you know, I wasn't dancing. Um, it, I was, yeah, I went into like this ghost. I didn't know how to
Yeah.
act. I didn't know how to take any of it. You know, I became so angry with this thing. And then after I was angry, I started thinking, well, what if I die? Right? Like this,
Yeah. Yeah.
these thoughts start rolling in, right? Well,
Yes.
what if I die?
Exactly.
What if this happens? What if that happens? I mean, out of control thoughts. And the what if is what drove me back into dance again. What if I
Wow.
die? Well, then you have to, you know, do this, this, and that, leave a legacy behind, and, you know, give a reason for people to, you know, give them a reason to that if you did it, they can do it, right? But it wasn't
Hmm.
so healthy because I wasn't doing it. Sorry, I wasn't doing it for anyone. I was doing it for myself. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Like I
Yes.
wanted to
Yes.
do
Yes.
this thing to prove to me. So it wasn't a healthy kind.
Hmm.
So after this what if, man, I said, okay, Janet, I had to dissect myself. You know, like I was so raw with myself, Maritza. You know, I looked at myself in the mirror and said, okay, what are we going to do about this? Let's be responsible. Let's take full accountability of what you're doing, of your actions right now. What's the next step?
And we know
What
that
do we
it's
have to
inoperable, right,
do?
Janet? Janet, we know that
Yes,
it's inoperable.
it's
It's
benign.
benign. But it's inoperable. But it sits in a place where it will spontaneously give you seizures, migraines, right? Right? Is that
That's
so?
correct.
So
Yeah,
so driving a car could be a very dangerous thing for you if you have a seizure.
right.
You
Yeah.
know?
So
Yeah.
when it came to that point, yeah, thank you for saying that, Marissa, because when it came to me dissecting myself, what was this thing? I used to call it this thing. What was this thing doing to me? That's when I said, okay, there is so many other neurologists out there. I need a different opinion. I started taking charge, right? I started really
Yeah.
taking charge of this thing, like I took in charge
Mhm.
of my passion. So I
Mhm.
put all that energy into, okay, I started reading. I started researching, you know, and the best doctors out there, and I started seeing a therapist, right? Because as I started reading on how to adapt to this condition or any kind of chronic illness, it really just woke up another side of me, right? And that's like
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
growth, more growth happened, and the beauty
Yes.
of, you know, of when you're presented with an unknown, you know, there is beauty outside of it. There really is. And that's exactly what happened. I saw more neurologists, right? The beauty of science and so many treatments out there that I had no idea of, you know, and it's
Yeah.
just me taking charge and being responsible as an adult to to completely educate myself on what's out there for me. Can I live a normal life with this? How can I become a better person adapting to this chronic illness in order for my family and parents to also enjoy being with me and not always worried about me, right? Because that was
Yeah.
a burden I was also carrying. Seeing my mom and
Yes.
my dad just know that they were just so worried about me. And like you said, you know, me even like going to the store was something that, you know, my mom would worry now.
Yeah.
And, you
Yeah.
know, how to take that off of me, that responsibility, right, that I couldn't control. Um, so that in itself is what really just shifted my life, shifted my perspective. It woke up this seed inside me that I knew was in there, but I just never had discovered. And I dissected and I did the work to get out. And that just
Yes.
makes me feel that if I can do it and I found it, I just want to be that vessel and that tool for other people to be able to lean on, because I got you. You know, like people
Yes.
always say, well, um, I'll help you find a way. And my thing to that, I have a whole different thing. Like, I know you are the way. I'm just here to guide you, baby. Lean on
I
me
love it.
because it's in you. It's already in you. I'm so animated. It's
So,
already in me. I'm like dancing
so,
as I
so
speak.
I
If
know
people
I
can
could
see
see you.
me.
So okay, so we're in this journey now. So now tell us about Psych of Dance. How did that come about? What's it all about? I know I've been through it. So, but I want my listeners to understand this connection and this really deep. It's. I'll give my perspective, but I want you to tell us a little bit about Psych of Dance and how this whole thing shifted in your life and why what you're doing now.
Thank you for asking. So Psych Dance is a mind, body, soul therapeutic program where you get to release all your energy through the beauty of dance. And when I created Psych of Dance, it it came to me at one of my other lowest points in life. My grandpa passed away, and 2 days later, my cousin passed away unexpectedly. We were all there together for my grandpa, and then my cousin passes away. And again, mind you, my dance, my business was booming, right? My career again, right, at its ultimate highest. And here I go again with my emotional personal life was at its ultimate lowest, right? This balance of you don't know how to feel. It's just so bittersweet. And I I I cave in, Maritza. I'm a big believer in just feeling your feelings and not suppressing them. So I felt, the grief, right? The grief that, the denial and all that stuff. And when I came through the acceptance part of grief, um, I just started journaling because that's something I do. I journal every morning, and I began to write more about like dance and then psych. I don't know how it just came. And I wrote psychology of dance. That's how it started. And I was like, okay, I'm onto something. I'm onto something here. And I went back into my college books because I have a degree in psychology. And the stats and the research I kept finding were insane. And then, of course, I come into this dance part, and I'm like, that was me. I was shook. You guys, I was like, oh my gosh, dance and psychology. Of course, it's this is who I am.
I can attest because I have taken the course twice, and Jannet has inspired me to do things like, journal every day, 3 things that I'm grateful for. When I met Jannet, it was a really tough time in my life. I had a lot of changes going through my life. I felt very lonely, very same thing, some dark times, and she really brought that out. So Jannet, want you to share with people how can they learn more about Psych of Dance and where can they learn more about you? And I know you've got your Instagram, but and I know that you've got some plans for a studio, and I know COVID-19 kind of we're working on that, but we want people to get to know you a
Yeah.
little bit better, know about your program. Can you tell us where they can reach you or how they can reach you?
Yes, yes, of course. Thank you. Yes, so my Instagram, TikTok, it's all at MISSCARRERA, which is Miss Carrera. Um, and my website is actually the link. If you go to my Instagram, you'll see the link to my actual website. And my website is Carrera Effect. And you can find all the courses that I offer and all the classes that I'm still offering right now through Zoom, through these interesting times. So you can find me on every single platform under Miss Carrera, and then my website is carreraeffect.com.
Well, as I said, for me personally, you have been an extreme light and beam in my life. And I want to just thank you so much for taking the time to share who you are with my audience. And I wish you all the success in the world. I know that I'll be seeing you because I've adopted you. She's like my adopted daughter now. So we're family now.
I'm adopted.
Support for this podcast comes from Hasty Storytelling. Hasty Storytelling is a creative agency that specializes in production, brand strategy, and live streaming solutions. For more information, visit us at hastystorytelling.com. Health Journeys is produced by Victoria Bilionis and executive producers Dennis Lovelace and Greg Hasty. Finally, if you're enjoying the show, please subscribe, tell a friend, and visit us at hastystorytelling.com.